Ladies and gentlemen, we will now open the floor for the Q&A session. As this is a press conference, members of the media are also invited to direct your questions to the panel on stage. Thank you.
So, what are the short-term and long-term impacts that you are expecting out of this initiative?
Thank you very much for your question. As we said, okay, long-term objective we like to see our country prosper. For that to happen, one of the areas is we have to build up. We have to support the best possible way in our capacity for these SMEs to come up. Now after 2027, then all these payments are coming, and we need to earn our revenue in foreign currency. There's a whole lot of package. So in that context, that's a long term. Short term, I would say, to create awareness on enhancing creditworthiness of one's enterprise. So medium term, as I told you, from 2 to 5 years, I would say we like to see more and more companies getting listed in Colombo Stock Exchange to support the growth momentum of these SMEs. SMEs will not be able to solely depend on credit and develop the business given the external shocks that they will be getting. And there will be more. Some of these things are beyond our control due to external factors such as the war now happening in the Middle East. So to absorb these shocks, they need to strengthen their capital base with equity. Perhaps first with private equity, then a good way to exit would be to go for listing on the Colombo Stock Exchange. So that's all the short, medium, and long term objective. Mike?
Mr. President, I thought I will also try to answer that question about short, medium, and long term. I think everybody here should understand that we have spoken far too long, far too deeply, not superficially about the importance of small and medium industries. I think Anuj made a presentation. I would like the media here to know that I want to congratulate CS Lanka being member for this initiative for this reason. As far back as 2018, the Securities and Exchange Commission, together with the CSC, decided to launch the first ever SME board, which is called the Empower Board. The word empower comes from empowering entrepreneurship, which Kofi Annan, as far back as 2003, said the United Nations Development Program should get involved. 8 people were selected from Mexico, from Venezuela, and all of that. C.K. Prahalad of the University of Chicago. And they decided that the SMEs will be strengthened throughout the world. Very little happened. I think it is important, Mr. President, to understand that even in our profession, the SMPs, the small and medium practitioners, there is a role they have to play for the SMEs, which is not happening. In this very room, we had several sessions, Rajiv, after we launched the Empower Board, to encourage the community of our own professionals to help bring SMEs on board. The only gentleman I would like him to stand up and take a bow, Rohan Sengra, please get up. I, as SEC chairman, was deeply disappointed that neither my own profession nor the banking community came to help empower the SMEs. We make a considerable amount of money. My bankers loan colleague is here. So Tishan, Anuji, and Saman in particular, I want to thank you for strengthening the elbows of the CSC. We launched an Empower Board, but very little happened until Rohan Senratna of Atara Capital. I think the media might like to even talk to him. He has, how many did you get listed? Right. Now, another important thing that is not discussed here, which I want to say is When we launched that SME Empower Board, Minister Mangal Samregi was the minister, we got a lot of support from the ministries and all that. But very few people know that when you raise money, the end game, the question was asked, what is the end game? The end game is to make sure that just like a drug deals or Hades or expense, even the SME has access to what is perceived to be quote unquote free money. All the big boys will go to the capital market and raise money. Even Pygmy went and collected some 3 billion, right? But the SMEs didn't have an opportunity to go and raise money through the Lanka Stock Exchange. The big man there for decades is there, Rajimata. Why? Anuji, something you might like to add on to your slide. In this country, when you raise money through the stock market, you necessarily require to comply with the international financial reporting standards. Anywhere in the world, people realize that the stringency or the rigidity or the robustness of the IFRS is too strong for someone able to bring up, hold hands, and pull up. So we at the SEC engaged the then council, and the council finally dispensed with the requirement of IFRS for the SMEs, and the small SME standards were permitted. There's another thing. Very few people are aware that while we in Sri Lanka have necessarily got to report quarterly, maybe I reported on that. Australia and many countries only report half yearly. Members of my profession know they earn a lot of money running around like chicken with heads cut off every quarter to make sure that the quarterly earnings are disclosed accurately. That is too much of a strain for the cities. I remember trying to engage authorities about that for some time. That's the second thing that we at the SEC, Dr. Harsha Surikrama was the head of that division, we decided to dispense with that also, and it's every 6 months only that you have to report. Right, Rohan? Okay, then about 6. Then the final thing that I want to mention, in many parts of the world, for something like this, they have someone to hold hands. In the United States of America, we think that special initiatives like this should be allowed only to what they call, what is the term, Rohan, for that? The term used in America and all those parts is accredited investor. Who is an accredited investor? In other words, only an accredited investor can invest in SMEs. Because it's like a buyer beware. This is a small and medium enterprise. It may be not governed properly. So those who put money don't come to the stock exchange and complain that governance was weak and they lost their money. So while many in the Colorado Stock Exchange using the US models, your guys recommended the nominated advisor, this kind of concept. Nominated advisor called no man sitting here, for example. But we at the SEC decided no, we will allow anybody who has capacity to invest in SMEs so that the funding availability is enhanced. So we proposed what is called a sponsor. And who did we decide might be the sponsors? My own profession. But it had to be an investment bank that actually started helping them. So, Mr. President, I know you're a tough guy. I think the time has come to ask our small and medium practitioners and also the banks who are invited repeatedly, who have done very little, to pull up their socks and remember that they're living in Sri Lanka and not in Paris. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, for your comments. I appreciate it. Mike?
Actually, I'm from media.
Yeah.
We have experienced several SME excellence award ceremonies in Sri Lanka. So, actually, this CA awards ceremony, I mean, Excellence Award, how do you, differentiate then what is the significant changes and specialities of your event?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. This award ceremony would be the conduit in keeping engaged with the SMEs continues. As I told you, award ceremony is not our main objective. We need to have, who asked that question? All right, thank you for that question. So I mentioned in my speech also, now what happened, our main objective, number one, is to see the creditworthiness of the SMEs are getting enhanced. And then with that, because not merely creditworthiness, during the process, many other systems, processes, controls will come into the SMEs, and over 2-3 years, these SMEs would be ready to think of to go for a listing. It's a process. One cannot decide today and tomorrow go for a listing. No, they are huge lists. So it will take minimum, correct me if I am wrong, 2 to 3 years to prepare for SME for a listing. Minimum 2 years. So, but then what would happen now? We have seen sometimes, I told you, I have my personal experience. Sometimes we get funding from various, agencies, maybe foreign agencies. We carry out workshops, etc. And after the project, we stop. Then we lose touch with these entrepreneurs. This award ceremony would help us to stay in touch with the SMEs and to accomplish our objectives. So why we have brought in, I am again re-emphasizing the award ceremony. It is to act as a conduit between us as the SMEs, which would in turn ensure having a sustainable engagement with the SMEs as a stakeholder. Hope I clarify.
Can I also just add something? Plus, also, I think it will be like a stamp for them to say they are creditworthy and sustainable SME. The criteria will be based on the SME creditworthiness scorecard. I think our tax award also, that's what happens. Because of the awards, everyone tries to be compliant. So what we are hoping is this will encourage SMEs to identify their weak areas and also try to improve.
And also, when it comes to the evaluation process of the award ceremony, we would be placing a significant importance of maintaining a credible tax payment record also. Emphasizing the importance of ethically paid taxes, that culture need to be brought in. So these are these things I'm sure we can do because we have the experience with the tax awards. If we want to introduce something new, it's a matter of announcing an award. For that, then we have seen corporates start falling in line because people love to get the awards. So in that context, whatever the improvements that they need to make to win an award, they would do. This is based on our experience. Thanks. Sorry, he's been
This mini saving notes program of the SMEs to be more organized. One thing I really like to know is because in my experience I have taken people to banks, and the first thing the manager would ask is for balance sheet or credit note. It is an expense account. They don't know what I will to do with it. And also, will you give them guidance on how they become a bankable thing? Because a lot of people make money, but they don't bank it, and the bank doesn't know what they make, or what they give. And the third thing is whether you are going to train them on keeping the accounts in a manner that they can submit it to banks or any other organization, especially when they want credit. The requirement is you have to give some statement of account or something like that. Otherwise, the bank just won't give money. Right? Are those modules included in the program?
Yes, of course. Now, the whole objective of this is that, to make the SMEs creditworthy, so that, if they follow the course of action, the process, it cannot be done overnight. Now, and if they follow the process, then they become creditworthy, they can comfortably go to a financial institution and present themselves. So it will happen. The second question is now, well, if you ask, we have our small and medium-sized practitioners across the country. But then perhaps a fully qualified chartered accountant may be expensive for a SME to retain. So in that context, we have recently we have 40,000 students, but all are not getting qualified as full chartered accountants. We have exit routes. Our first examination with 1 year experience, we offer them certified business accountant status. Second examination with 2 years experience, certified corporate accountant. So there are around 16,000 of them available. So we would like to connect these mid-tier qualified our accountants with the SMEs. So it is a much more practical way for the SMEs to get support, the required support. So what we have planned is really a practical, framework where we can really implement. So we are focused on implementation. Those who know, they know. Yeah.
Yeah, Chairman wanted me to speak of you.
Yeah.
So the question that he asked, on the program that the corporate finance advisors have to empower the SMEs, we do this restructuring stage where we take a company around 2 to 3 years. I think we're very proud to say that we listed the first SME women-owned enterprise in the history of this country from the north. She can't even speak Sinhalese and English, but we listed the company in the South Asia. So again, great entrepreneurs. I think SMEs are the real businessmen in this country, not the Royal College or St. Thomas College boys. Yeah. So the real businessmen are really passionate and real go-getters. So you want to help them. So that's why CA Sri Lanka, this is great.
Next time,
And
from Royal.
I know.
Yeah, Centaur.
Enlightened Mr. President, I think he knows that it is a Tobian from Galtis who helped launch the Empower Board.
Yeah, right.
Definitely, sir. So basically, it's great that CA Sri Lanka has come forward because you guys are also having so much of members across the country, like Anuji mentioned. It's a great program where so you got to identify maybe target 20, in the next 3 months or so, and get them into this acceleration program. If there's a need, we also can help. That's fine. We have to be very patient because there are reporting structures, governance, step by step. Once they will, the company that we listed for the 600 million valuation, it's a 2 billion market cap. They have gone for expansions. So there are four other examples as well. So it's a great program, but definitely with CA Sri Lanka coming to the party, I'm sure there's a lot of room for SMEs to empower themselves and get to a level because they have bankable document also, and also finally they can list on the CSC.
Thank you,
sir.
Your idea. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, Mike.
One part to that question is being bankable. Presently, the banks only go on your assets, which means actually they are judging your grandfather and then giving you a loan, right? Because they have what comes down the line, and it's very difficult. But will you all take the initiative to show, or at least to talk to banks and get this new thinking to go on that there is a value in a business where you can rent? Because up to now, there are very few banks who take an idea and finance it, right? I'll give you one real example. Two small boys were working in a press. There was an order for party caps from England, and the lost to it. It's used. They were cleaning it. They were sweeping it. They got that, went to press, showed them, they costed it, did an order, and in a couple of years he got one of the presidential awards also. Because Sampath Man gave them the money on the idea. Right? They didn't have money. When the printer wasn't going to finance it, they needed a lot of money. So, would that give the SMEs and everyone else a massive boost? Because today, average person can't buy a computer. You have to go and hawk something. Right? But these big companies are given, funding without water. Whereas the ones at the bottom have to sell everything. So that, I believe that part must change.
So if you take our, the rating framework which we have given, now when it comes to, bank rating, now we have, here given two options. One is based on the strength of, one is okay. If there's collateral, it could be easy, but if there's no collateral, for instance, startup, then it would be based on the strength of the business model, right? Strength of the business model, but then it has to be shown and convinced to the bank because we have to understand banks are also operating within a regulatory framework. And as you said, based on the risk appetite, sometimes banks are going for cash flow based, lending based on the relationship and all. So it depends. But then when the creditworthiness of a SME is enhanced, obviously naturally any bank would be able to get looking at the policies, procedures, how the entrepreneur would go and present himself, showing the know-how not merely on the business but also on other internal control, the quality of management, etc. Yeah, so all these things will come into place over a period of time. I don't think that we are launching now and next year we can expect all these things. That's why I said even our first year we want to see after 2 years number of companies who would be influenced to go for listing because of our endeavor. So it will be a process.
Yeah, so what I'm asking actually, shouldn't there be a policy shift to look at this thing more?
Yes, of course. That is to look at
Because they will be encouraged then to keep to their own, get higher professional people, percentage better, because
this is part of how the
So if you actually see why the SMEs have to rely only on collateral, is when they go to a bank, they can't really convince the bank why they should lend to. So I think one thing that we are trying to do with our scorecard is to get them themselves, that most of them have very good business cases. Just that it's not present well, nobody can understand, it's too scattered all over. So what we are trying to do with this scorecard is to get the entire story in one place. So that they themselves can try and say, look, these are all my strengths, and based on that, encourage banks to give clean lending.
this is also translated into single and package also. More rather one we are doing single. So particular and
Kevin Devanand from Sanitans again. So, why CA Sri Lanka thought this is a timed initiative? This is the correct time to launch this initiative and how? And SME can maximize the potential of the benefit out of this framework.
so now so the right time, I don't know, we may be late also, right? But what happened now, my predecessor, National, he appointed me to lead a task force to develop this framework. So that time, we have had many discussions with banks and various other parties and even the representation from the field. And later on, I did not see that this is being fully utilized by anybody. Now we have put in our efforts and then we need to do something which could really add value to our nation. So that's how the whole idea came and how we conceptualized. And also we are the national accounting body, and we are established by Act number 23 of 1959, section 3. Based on our objectives, and we have to play a role at national level in promoting finance, tax, accounting, financial management, know-how in the country. So we are actually going to fulfill our objectives accordingly, but with a different vision. So I think we have the resource power to do that and all the connections required. So why not we do this for the benefit of the masses and finally it would bring value to our nation. Someone has to. I think there are many other institutes also. Meda, Yavan is here, Lakshman, and we can see even at Ministry of Industries there are many programs happening. So we also like to contribute because we have the knowledge, the resources, connections to do that.
For a newly formed company, how will get apply for for this company progress?
Sorry, would you please repeat?
For newly formed company, how the company get to apply SME for its company progress?
A startup, yeah, to get involved with the program. So now they can directly apply. We'll be carrying out our PR campaigns on this. Other than that, through the chamber banks, so we are trying to all the banks to nominate SMEs who are having potential to go for a listing one fine day to come and participate in our program. We are going to write to the chamber, already verbally communicated, but we are officially going to write to them also. So one of the challenges would be to identify the right small to medium size companies to get involved. Because as I told you, our area is to see how many new companies would be going for listings after 2 years, because of this. So in that context, we'll be seeing and one can approach CSP Lanka and express the willingness to come on board also. Did I answer your question?
So just to add, we will have a twofold approach. One is anyone who is interested, we'll help them to fill this scorecard so that they gradually go with the scorecard into themselves. But the ones with a higher potential, we will put more effort to work with them and then maybe introduce them to Rohan for it to take them to the next stage of the listing. Yes.
Yeah, that's right over there. That's good.
ඇත්තටම බොහොම ස්තුතියි මේ වගේ අවස්ථාවක් සලසා දීමට. මම ප්‍රීති කුලියාව දෙන්නේ සිංහල පත්තරයෙන් අහන්නේ. ඇත්තටම ජාතිය ගොඩනගාගෙන බඳු සුළුහා බඳු පරිමාණ ඉලක්කයන් ගන්න ඔබතුමාලා පටන් ගත්තේ ඉතාම වටිනවා. 50කට වඩා වැඩි ව්‍යවසායක ප්‍රමාණයක් ලංකාවේ ජාතික ආදායමට මේ ශක්තිය ලබා දෙනවා. ගොඩනගාගෙන කියනොත් හරි. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලන්ට දැන් අපේ රටේ කතා කරන ව්‍යවසායක වල විතරම කියන්නේ මොනවාරි කරලා ජීවත් වෙන්න එහෙමනේ දැන් ලොකු නැති වෙගෙන යන ඉස්සරහ එළිය නිසා කොම්පැනි වල ඔක්කොමගේ ආයේ මේ කොහොමද ඉල්ලීමක් කරන්නේ දැන් ඔය ව්‍යාපාර කරපු කට්ටියට දැන් සමහර අය වැටලා ඉන්නවා ඕන එකක් ගන්න බෑ කිත්තේ නම තියෙනවා ඒකෝ ඒ වගේ කට්ටියට ඔබතුමාලා උදව් කරනවාද නැත්නම් අලුතින් මේ ව්‍යවසායයන් විතරක් උදව් කරන්නේ කියලා පොඩ්ඩක් දැනගන්න ගන්න අවශ්‍යයි
ඒක තමයි දැන් විද්‍යාවේ නම තිබුණා එතනින් ඒක පස්සේ මේක පැතුලට රෙගියුලේටර් මම බැංකුවේ අධ්‍යක්ෂක වෙන්න ගන්නවා ඒ රෙගියුලේටර් ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එකක් වැඩ කරනවා. ඒක තමයි අපි අර මේ ප්‍රවර්තනය කරන්න හදන්නේ. බැංකුනාය මතම යැපෙන්නේ නැතුව තමන්ගේ ප්‍රාර්ථනාව කොටස් වලට ගිහිල්ලා ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් විදිහට ව්‍යාපාරයේ ඇතුළත තියෙන ඒ අභ්‍යන්තර කල්පනාකරණය හදාගන්න. ඒක ඕන කරන මත පිටීමක් තමයි අපි මේ තුලින් කරන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒක එක වර්ක්ෂොප් එකක් කරලා අපිට කරන්න බැරි නිසා තමයි අපි මේ රෝඩ් සෙරමනි එක රෝඩ් එක ඉන්ට්‍රොඩියුස් කරලා රෝඩ් එක ඒකත් දිගටම අපිත් එක්ක ඉන්නවා. හැම රෝඩ් එකෙන් පස්සෙම අපි අර විනිශ්චය කාර්යවලගේ රිපෝට් එකක් දෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මොන වගේ ඒරියාවන්ට තව වැඩිපුර දියුණු කර ගන්න ඕනේ ඒ වගේ. එතකොට අවුරුදු දෙක තුනක් අපිත් එක්ක මේ වැඩේ කරගෙන යන සමාගමකට පුළුවන් වෙනවා ඊළඟ ලෙවල් එකට යන්න. අනිත් එක තමයි මේ වැඩ කරගෙන යන්නේ ඒකත් අපි අඳුරගෙන අපේ වෙන මේ කලාපු කොටස් වලින් පොරේ මහත් අඳුරගෙන ඒවා ඔක්කොම කරගෙන යන්නේ සමාන උදව් බලන්න පුළුවන් අනිත් කතිවදිනවා. දෙකටම අපි වල දෙවලක් කියලා තියෙනවා මේක අපි දැන් මේ ජීවිත එක හරියටම මේ හරියට සමාජගත කරගන්න. මොකක්ද අපි මේ කරන්න හදන්නේ? මොකක්ද අපි මේකේ අරමුණ කියන එක. එහෙනම් බොහොම ස්තුතියි ප්‍රශ්න වලට මම දැන් වලට ආන්නේ මේ වගේ ප්‍රෙස් කොන්ෆරන්ස් වල 2000 මම හිතන්නේ 10 ඉඳන් එක ඉවෙන්ට් වල කරලා අද තමයි ලැබුණා ප්‍රශ්න ටික ආවේ කීයගේ thank you very much ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක අපේ කොන්සෙප්ට් එක මම හිතනවා ආකර්ෂණීයයි කියලා මම ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් ඉල්ලාසිනවා මේ හරි විදිහට හරි ආකාරයෙන් දැනගත කරලා දෙන්න. අපි මේක විදිහටම කරගෙන යනවා අපිට කරන්නේ අපිට අනිත් රොබෝට් එකේ අවුට් මේ හැට එක විදිහටම කරන්නේ. ඒක අපි දැන් පටන් ගන්න හදලා අයිඩියා එකක් නෑ. නමුත් අපි අවුරුදු දෙකකට පස්සේ බලන්න අපි මේ කරන වැඩේ කොහොමද තියෙනවා. නැත්නම් බොහෝ විදිහට බොහෝ දෙයක් අපිට කරලා නැහැ. ඒ අපේ අන්තිම අරමුණ ඉස්ස වෙනවා කියලා. ඉතින් ඒක හරියට සමාජයට කරන දවසක් කියලා මම අපේ මීඩියා මාධ්‍යයෙන් කරන එක මහත්මයා ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
Thank you, Mrs. Musinger. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the conclusion of the launch of the SME Creditworthiness Rating Framework and SME Connect Awards. On behalf of CA Sri Lanka, first and foremost, we extend our sincere appreciation to the President of CA Sri Lanka, Mr. Shyam Singh, for his leadership, guidance, and continued commitment towards strengthening the SME sector through meaningful and timely initiatives. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to Ms. Anujit Silva, Vice President of CA Sri Lanka and Chairperson of the CA SME Connect Committee, and the members of the CA SME Connect Committee for their dedication and valuable contribution in driving these initiatives forward. A special word of thanks goes to all members of the media present here today. Your presence and support are greatly appreciated, as the role of the media is vital in creating awareness and taking this important message to the wider business community, especially in the SME sector. I also extend my sincere gratitude to our distinguished dignitaries who are present today and each and every one of you for your active participation. Thank you all for joining us, and we wish you a very pleasant evening. Thank you.